Okay, just while see if my mic's on. Just while we reassemble the stage, a couple thank yous that are overdue. I want to extend a big thanks to Rico and the team at Savills and Rhiannon and the team at Global Branded Residences. They provided a lot of the data insights, the market intel that powered not only Jonathan's initial comments at the outset, but some of my comments with respect to market perspectives. Both firms are very, very important in the branded residence space, not only to developers, but to operators like ourselves. So thank you very much, Rico and Rhiannon. The next moderator, first of all, a couple thoughts. Thank you very much, Nick Candy. That was passionate, inspired, insightful, lots of great takeaways. Clearly, Nick is very bullish, not only on Dubai, UAE, and Riyadh, but some really, really interesting takeaways, and I look forward to the future of branded offices. Our next guest is also a straight shooter, calls it like he sees it. The moderator of the Operator Perspective panel has been working in this region now for 15 years. He is the head of the hospitality practice for CBRE. It's my pleasure to welcome Ali Manzoor. Ali.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. It looks like it's an excellent turnout, which is always good news. This session will be looking at how branded residential operators interact with their development partners and, of course, with the homeowner communities. What does that mean? Basically, we'll be talking about how operators source deals, how it's done, and how they look after the asset after it's delivered. We have an excellent panel of experts. We have Daniel von Barloewen, head of mixed use, global development lead and owner of a powerful double-barrel surname. We have Barry Landsberg, principal at Landsberg Consulting. We have from Kerzner International, Jonathan Tomlinson, the global head and SVP of private homes and branded residential. And from Mandarin Oriental, we have Adelina Wong, Ettelson, the global head of residential marketing. Thanks for being here.
That's true.
For the record, she came all the way from the States and claims she's heavily jet lagged, so we got to give her a bit of rope here.
2 words.
So we'll start with Daniel. I hope you're nice and relaxed.
Yeah. No jet lag here.
Fantastic. So I guess we can start with what your problem is, Daniel. So you reject so many deals, and you and all of your peers alike, that are perfect, almost perfect. You know, developers think really have legs, and everything seems to be not quite good enough. Is that a personality issue, or is there something behind that?
Thanks, Ali. I think the answer to that is really well framed by the last few panels. I mean, Jeff teed it up as it has to be a win-win-win. And George and Husni and all of the other panelists, including Nick most recently, talked about buyers are looking for that experience which they're going to be able to have. And they don't want second best. So really, when we would say no to something, it's more about an education process and helping the developer orientate themselves to what they need to do to be successful. So sometimes, to quote a friend of mine in the audience, Chris Graham, you don't want to promise the moon and deliver a lamppost. So it's really important from that perspective to be able to sort of choose from a huge portfolio. Not everything is ultra luxury. Not everything is luxury. Some things are better in terms of premium. It comes down to who is the buyer, why are they buying, how are they going to use that property. All of that sort of shapes the owner into being able to decide where they need to best orientate in order to succeed. So when we're saying no, it's more about a case of how can we help you most through our choice of brand portfolio, and also helping you learn through getting the right market study advice from top consultant firms and top designers to create a really outstanding, successful project.
And often that's at the expense of growth, right?
In terms of us, yes, we can't say no to every opportunity, or can't say yes, rather, to every opportunity, because it all comes down to what exactly the buyer's looking for. They have to be the best assets in a particular class. So a premium project needs to be the best premium project in that location. Ultra luxury is the best ultra luxury product within that particular location. And that's what we will help steer the developers towards.
And speaking of growth, Jonathan, Kerzner's growth has been very deliberate, much sort of slower and more selective than maybe some other brands that you would know about. Is this by design, or is there any particular reasons behind this?
Certainly. So what's important to us at Kerzner International is who we work with. So importantly, to assure that when we are engaging with our developer partners and all the stakeholders, that everyone's motivations are aligned. So if we look at the one and only brand that's in the ultra luxury space, we've got new brand that's come to market, Cyro, which has a very strong growth pipeline. But where they will sit in terms of what the experiences are within those brands, they're both very different. So we would typically work with different developer partners for either of those two particular brands. And of course, we have Atlantis, the Royal here in Dubai, which is a fantastic development. So aligning those expectations are essential. And the panel previously, and George was on that panel as well, emphasizing the importance of the sales journey. So when we're engaging with our partners, we're also looking at what is their financing mechanism? What is their capital stack? How important is the sales absorption to them? Do they need to sell out in 12 months, 24 or 36 months? So that's very relevant in how the brand then aligns with those developer motivations. And importantly, having some sensibility around sales prices. Typically, our prices for one and only are very much a premium, but we also don't want to be going through the journey of taking 10 years to sell, because that's not good for the brand and it's not good for our developer partner. So we also need to align in how long it's actually going to take to enable those sales and the ultimate financial success of the development as well.
I think some of the apprehension about from developers from approaching your group is they don't really know what you are. Like, are you a developer? Are you a developer operator? Are you part of ICD? I mean, maybe you know the answer, but not everybody does necessarily.
We're very unique in the sense that we're extremely fortunate to be owned by ICD, the Investment Corporation of Dubai. They have an incredible vision led by the chairman for all of the brands, and in particular for the direction that Kerzner International is going in. But very much an operator with one and only Cyro, Atlantis, and also Rare Finds, which is our newest Rare Finds, Bab Shams here in Dubai. But we also are a hotel owner, and we also are a real estate investor, which means that we do take on some development responsibilities as well. So we sort of cover all bases. We have a number of developments that we take responsibility for, but we still also work with partners in dry management agreements as well.
Okay, and Adelina, if we can go to you. When you're looking for development partners, you also have this very deliberate sort of slower growth plan for the brand. What is it that you look for when you do seek partners?
Well, actually, just to go back to what Daniel was saying, we don't actually, in Mandarin Oriental vocabulary, we don't say no, but we offer a choice. We offer an alternative. So in the sense of, looking for a partner, looking for someone that we would like to be working with, it's really about their vision. The developer's vision. We are one brand. We don't have multiple brands that we can fit into that can work with the developer. So it's really, really important for us that the developer understands our brand and that we have an aligned vision in terms of quality, in terms of what we can deliver as a hospitality operator and partner for branded residences. We've been doing this for 20 years. And I think that, we go into the market really aiming at the top.
Yeah.
So if the development partner is not at the same level, or in effect don't want to be spending at that level, or don't really understand the nature of our guest profile or the target audience, I think that makes a big difference for us. We really do look at that very carefully. Obviously, the site is important, location, and we really look for the best in the region or in the market. Now, having said that, we like to work with people that are aligned, and that's really the most important thing. So, for example, in Turkey, we've been working with this one developer, Astaş Holdings, for multiple projects, and that's something that we really aim to do.
And you mentioned Turkey. I looked at your branded residences portfolio. A lot in Europe, the US certainly, not as much in Asia it seems. Is there a reason why there's more in the West than the East, or maybe I haven't even got that right?
So the question is,
Why there are more sort of branded residences in sort of Europe and the US?
well, I think that's really a function of the trend, and we've all heard it earlier in the last two talks, sessions, where branded residences is really growing extraordinarily in the last, 5 years, and then now doubling up to 2030. So I think in the past, in the recent years, it's really been about the US. It started in the US, Europe has caught up, and Dubai certainly has caught up here. I think that, it's a matter of education and a matter of really going back to the consumer. What do the buyers want? Charlie Walsh said something earlier. Like, what do the buyers want? Daniel also mentioned it, in really understanding who are buying these homes. They are ultra high net worth, but they're different amongst all the different regions and markets. So I think in terms of Asia, I'm happy to say that we are moving into Asia. We have mostly in the resort area, so we have 2 new developments in Vietnam and also Maldives. So, we're really heading towards that area as the market and the buyers get more sophisticated into branded residence.
And coming to this area, you entered the market recently in the GCC, in Muscat rather than the UAE. So
Yeah.
would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Very exciting about that. In Muscat, we have a branded residence right beside a hotel that just opened. And, Eagle Hills is a great developer, and we like to work with the best in the market, and they have, a lot of great developments there. And we have a beautiful hotel that's just opened, so I invite everyone to go take a look.
Barry, sorry to keep you on pause for so long. So when it comes to Virgin, I seem to be the only person who's ever had Virgin Coca-Cola. Nobody else has heard of it. But you guys did Coke, you did wine, planes, all sorts of things. What is your philosophy when it comes to branded residences? Because a lot of people will not be familiar.
Yeah, listen, I would describe Virgin as in the hotel space as immature, relatively new. So it took a while to hit the stride in terms of the positioning of a branded residential offering. We have 2 products: a Virgin Hotels product, which is a premium luxury lifestyle brand, and then Richard's collection of properties, which is Virgin Limited Edition, ultra luxury, more on the Amman type of project. And really, so we saw there's 2 different opportunities there. Obviously, with the brands, the goal was to really leverage the brand DNA and knowledge. So you have brands that around the world, the Virgin brand is known, but not necessarily known in specifically the hotel space. Yeah. But it's that linkage to Virgin Atlantic, the whole travel vertical as well. So you have Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Voyages, and Virgin Holidays is the largest travel provider in the U.S. So the goal was to look at destinations where we drive traffic to as a brand, and develop the hotel opportunities. And as we matured, layer on the residential business, which is a natural fit. It becomes a natural need in terms of development. You can start out in a cluster building some hotels, but as you grow in that space, you need the expertise in terms of residential and building up that residential pipeline. From 0 in the hotel, I'd say from 1 in the residential pipeline a couple years ago to 50% of the pipeline for both brands are now residential. So it's become obviously a crucial important point.
So let's say in a perfect world, what would your first hotel in the region, where would it be, and what would it sort of look like in your first branded residence project?
In this region, there's no question between Atlantic, Megastore, Mobile, and all the other Virgin brands that are already here and being delivered here, and brand recognition, Dubai is the place to be. It's a market where, a brand-rich market, and a natural fit for, obviously, expanding the residential offering. So it would be Dubai, and they're exploring opportunities right now.
Understood. And so we go from operators with maybe a small collection of brands or a very focused one to one with with quite a large portfolio of brands. And actually, one of my favorite things to do is to look at the expression on my client's face as you pull out your brand wall, because they're sort of bewildered. Like, with so much to offer, how do you match a brand to a particular opportunity? Like, what is the thought process behind that?
It's really all around understanding the buyer profile. So firstly, you sort of look at the tier positioning based on, is this a location that supports ultra luxury or premium? Then you start looking at, is this a location which is more of a lifestyle location in terms of the neighborhood? Is this also a product that actually would work very well as a lifestyle product, or is it more classic? How are people going to use their homes? Are we talking about buyers who are 55 to 75, more classic, luxury, in which case you're looking at a Fairmont, the same way Marriott would be looking at a Ritz-Carlton, for example, or even sort of a Raffles versus a Mandarin, a Rosewood, etc. Or is this somewhere which is very wealthy, but at the same time much more lifestyle orientated, in which case you're looking at brands like SLS or Delano. So, and then the same exercise when you sort of move into the premium segment. So it's about, from a data-driven perspective of who is going to be using this home or buying this property and how are they going to use it, that we can then understand and help shape which is the right brand to go for it. Because you have, the classic thing is to think, I have to have a luxury brand. If I don't have a luxury brand, I can't get the best premiums. And there are people in this room from the consultant side, Jeff mentioned earlier, who are extremely well placed that we orientate our owner partners to. A number of them have just recently conducted some brand premium studies for us. And we have premium brands which are achieving 70% plus price premiums. So you're well into the space that luxury brands are doing. Because it's about getting the right product with the right design, the right amenities into the market. That's what people are going to be paying for. And so what we do is we sort of help shape the developers onto the brand that then makes the most sense.
And for you, Jonathan, things are a little bit tighter. You have sort of a portfolio of 4. I think most of us are familiar with Atlantis and One and Only. But what about the Rare Finds and Zero? What was the sort of philosophy behind those two?
So we would also look at it in terms of the scale and the type of development. So is it co-located or mixed use, standalone, resort or urban? And that will also determine what brand is going to be the best fit for ourselves and also for our developer partner. If we're looking at, say, a one and only, these are one-of-a-kind properties in very unique locations. We see here at One and Only Wandsville, very unique architectural features of that building as well. Atlantis the Royal and Atlantis the Palm, we're talking over 1,000 keys plus probably 300 or 400 residences. So they're very distinct in that particular space. And then when we look at Cyro, it's more around health, fitness, wellness being the focus. And again, some different motivators there for our developer partners. So I think in that sense, we're quite fortunate. We do have 4 very distinct brands, but it is also important that when we start those initial discussions with our partners is what are their objectives, make sure they're aligned with our objectives and our brands as well.
And then from 4 to 1, for you, things must be even more streamlined. I mean, do you find that easier or much more difficult having a single brand to work with?
Well, I think our developers, when they come to us, they know what they want and they know what they're looking for. And I think earlier, I think it was Jeff, mentioned that there are 3 major things that branded residences really need to do in order to deliver value to their developers and owners, which is originality, authenticity, and I think inspired storytelling. Mm-hmm. So I think with Mandarin Oriental, with all of our brand pillars that we have in wellness, in the service that's steeped in the Asian heritage, we have a lot of different stories to tell. And for that really brings a lot to the table for a lot of our developers, because we can bring to it, whether it's from programming initially, so we work directly with the developers right from the beginning. We collaborate, and so in terms of what we're going to bring in terms of amenities and other hospitality type programming, I think that really helps because we're bringing a 5-star luxury hotel brand into it, And then we layer on with the service that we deliver in a very authentic, unique way, really, which is really due to our Asian heritage. So I think with that, the developers that we work with generally understands that when they come in with us.
Yeah.
So for us, it's really just about looking for the right partner in the regions that we want to be growing in.
What about sort of in terms of collaborating with maybe a fashion brand or a third party? Is that something you've ever looked
Favorite
at?
topic.
Is it really? Oh,
I
fantastic.
love fashion, but I would ask that, despite loving fashion, would you want a fashion brand who's great at designing, okay, manage your $5 million plus home? Is that what the value add is? What is it? So we're all hotel people here. So I think that is really the crucial question for fashion, for automobiles. I love cars too, but I'm not sure I want a car company to be managing my home, because really at the end of the day, what we learned from the resident owners that we have is that they really appreciate the warmth and the service level that we provide them. And only really from a 5-star or and a hospitality group can really manage, one, their asset really well. Someone mentioned that earlier too. I'm blanking on who it was, but it was managing and making sure that the asset itself is, still, looking great after 10 years, but also really in what we deliver in terms of customer service.
And I think this is something that you're perhaps more open to at Accor, to collaborate with the third parties, perhaps.
We're certainly always open to exploring ways in which we can creatively enhance our residents' owner experiences. But it really does, to Adelina's point, it comes down to the critical component of delivering that hospitality experience. That's what the purchasers are looking for. That's where the value is. That's how you manage and maintain and enhance the value of their property over time, which has been demonstrated sort of over the last 25 years. And it's also how you deliver those services on a day-to-day basis. But certainly partnerships with design firms are ones that we've seen to be very successful, and we have done those in some of our projects.
And just going back to brand identity, Barry, a lot of us are not really familiar with what a Virgin Hotel would offer, let alone a branded residence. What would you describe sort of the key value proposition of that brand?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to Richard's philosophy that's 50 years old. So it's interesting. He's always been highly ESG focused. So definitely important component of the brand, but also music and fun. So you're gonna have DJ vinyl music, design, red, his colors. So there's a lot of attributes that align with how he's lived his lifestyle. As I described it, I was at Necker Island recently, talking to the team there, which is one of his Virgin limited edition properties. A lot of sellouts and guest opportunities and unique things. And if you aren't busy there every minute, it's crazy. You've failed. But Richard plays hits tennis twice a day, goes kiteboarding in the afternoon, and then goes mountain biking in the evening. And it's about that,
On
focus.
Necker Island?
Well, no, the mountain biking, they get on a boat and they go to the adjacent island. So that you can mountain bike on Necker Island, you'll probably run over a lemur or a tortoise or a kangaroo or whatever he is rescuing at that time as well. So that's another, leads to another attribute of the brand. Is very
I think
much
it's really about differentiation,
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing, right? All of our brands, that's what we strive to do for lifestyle, for Virgin. When you imagine that, you think about all the things that you know about the Virgin brand.
Yeah, that's the uniqueness of having a personality that's lived a lifestyle and believes in a lifestyle, and that music history and everything else he's done. It
And then,
lends itself to uniquely.
right, and for the rest of us, the three, hospitality brand, really, we stem from service. We stem from basically managing. We all manage directly. I think that's the one thing, is that we don't, when we sign on to a project, we are managing it. We are there, we're operating it, and the standards are ours. So you are going to be living at a Mandarin Oriental standard, 5-star luxury hotel, but you just happen to own it.
And I think it's as well, it's how the brand, again, Virgin is unique in that it has all of these, 23 other brands within the brand house, all under Richard's, business family office umbrella, and able to bring service from Virgin Atlantic and what he did uniquely in airplanes, or what he does in the lounge space, or Virgin Voyages, which is adult only, and take an edgier approach. So, I having lived the brand world, I think that's what you draw from within the different components of your brand, how you deliver an F&B or the experiences, and draw that especially, and you start to think lifestyle-wise, how that draws into the residential owner and the alignment with their lifestyle and how they want to experience things.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And, in terms of doing it differently as well, luxury is not necessarily the only way to go. I mean, traditionally, you do say that there's an aspirational aspect to it. There's a sort of certain elements of luxury that are tied to it. But I know, for example, there have been certain cases of maybe upscale or even mid-scale branded residences that have been hugely successful, right? And those exist within your portfolio.
100%. I mean, really, I mentioned earlier, we have price premiums that sort of owners have achieved under our brands that have ranged from sort of the mid-20s all the way up to, I won't give the figure I just saw most recently because it blew my mind as the highest ever. It was the figure began with a 2 and it was 3 digits. So it's pretty incredible, and that was not a luxury brand which achieved that price premium. So it really is about how can we curate the right product through the management, as Adelina was saying, and deliver it, because this is what residence owners are looking for. When they're buying a property, the only difference between someone who can buy, a Swiss hotel purchaser, for example, to a Raffles purchaser, is the purchasing power. But the human need that desire to feel that your property is managed by a hospitality operator that has a couple of centuries of experience in delivering that level of service, anticipation of the residence owner's needs before they've even expressed them, curated service offerings, knowing whether a particular residence owner wants to be greeted by name in the morning or wants to be quietly, discreetly sort of let to go in and out of the building. The services, the experiences we'll be organizing for residence owners over the course of every month or every quarter. The way we run rental programs, we'll talk about rental programs later, but that's another aspect which really differentiates hospitality branded residences in resort contexts, because buyers are looking for that hassle-free, trusted company that really has an experience in managing my real estate, my homeowners association matters, helping keep my property well maintained to brand standards so that 20, 30 years later, it's not a 30-year-old property. It still feels like a brand new property to a really high standard.
And it's also it's the emotional connection that a homeowner will have to the brand and to that piece of real estate as well. And what we certainly find with our brands is that we'll look beyond just the product and the service, and then the emotional connection into a broader community of like-minded homeowners across all of our brands. So whether that's from Mauritius to Mexico to the United States to Dubai, there is continuity and there is the ability for homeowners to essentially be able to communicate and engage with the brand as well. And it's also not lost on us that for most people, a piece of real estate is the single biggest investment that anybody will make. So if they're spending an average 8 to 10 million for a one and only property, there's a significant amount of expectation that goes beyond just the service and the physical product, but I think also the affinity that they then start to develop with the brand, which then also leads to those experiences and memories that will ultimately be created.
So who do those end users deal with exactly? So, I mean, you have a developer delivers the building, end users are sort of living in there. They want to interact with you. How does that work? Does it work through a homeowners association? Is the developer still in the picture? Are they completely out of the picture? Or how does that structure look like for you guys?
So we're a full service company, so we'll right from the moment that we are engaged with our developer partner for deal pursuit, that we are hand in hand with them all the way through that journey. until there may be a homeowners association, or in many cases in jurisdictions that we operate, the hotel owner or developer may retain control of that association. So we're right through that journey with them operationally. As soon as the homeowner essentially receives their keys, that's really when all of those services and experiences start to.
Fantastic. And maybe to you, Barry, what do you think some of those pinch points can be when you do make that transition? You know, when the developer builds it and then hands it over to the homeowners and the operator sort of involved. Do you think that there's certain places and areas that things often go wrong, or should be sort of safeguarded against failure?
Yeah, and I think it's what Jonathan just said in terms of being involved throughout the process, and being shoulder to shoulder is critical, because you want to, throughout the sales process, make sure you're on the same page, and make sure that the product that they're being sold is what you're going to be delivering operationally, and then ensuring that you have a team there that is aligned with what that operational model is. I think one pinch point that I've seen, and I come from your world, and different, we were Four Seasons together and other places where handover was probably one of the most difficult, where the developer is under control until a certain, that point in the process where then you have an owner, and within there, the punching a product and the challenges and where the brand needs to fit in there is, it becomes sometimes a challenge, and it's actually one of the things that's worth ironing out in that experience between the developer and the brand, to ensure that creates that smooth handover, throughout that process. That to me is one of the biggest potential disappointments that an owner can have in their experience.
I think the journey starts right at the sales.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right? So
you have to be
really,
through that process.
well, we call them fan makers. I say to the sales team, I said, you are a fan maker, for Mandarin Oriental fans, because you need to start sharing and really understanding what the brand is all about. So we do a lot of brand induction, a lot of training, actually, from marketing to sales to everything, all throughout this process. And to your point, I think it's really important that we start and collaborate right at the very beginning with the developer. And I think I cannot say that, I think we all agree here, that is the key to success, to work together. Not in the old days, it used to be developer hand something off to you,
It's
and
about
all of a sudden you're like,
collaboration
what?
and engagement. That engagement is
Completely
the number
different.
one thing I say, and when you meet with a developer for the first time as a brand, it's not adversarial. We're going to be together, even as on the hotel side. We might be together the next 25 years. So it's about engagement. Yeah.
And the customer has a better.
I think it looks like our time is about up. Daniel said make sure we leave time for questions. I didn't do that, sorry. But maybe just on the final note, just one thing, maybe we can flip it around. One last thing, if there's one thing for people to remember not to do when building branded residences, start with you, and maybe we can go down. There's one piece of advice you could give on your deathbed.
Don't start a branded residential project without getting the right advisory team on board to be able to actually help steer you into the right direction. Without understanding who you're building for and how they're going to use that product, you're really starting the pyramid with purely bricks without the right cement. And everything then has that knock-on impact into what Adelina was talking about.
You've stolen it in terms of the right legal counsel, the right local legal counsel, and understands the jurisdiction, getting rental right, getting all those components. And it layers onto all the consultants, and a major one is obviously market feasibility, understanding it. Everybody likes to push back on that, but the value is tremendous at many different points. I think it's a crucial piece of it.
I'd say do your research, make sure that it is that particular brand that you want to work with, and does that brand have a dedicated residential team that is going to support you through that whole journey.
100%.
I get the last word.
Absolutely.
A woman gets the last word. I think
life.
I agree with everything that was said. I would just like to say that remember that the branded residence is not so much about shelter or real estate, really. It's about being part, so people are buying into the brand, buying into what you're offering as a lifestyle, as the differentiator, So we all win when the customer really understands that and that is clearly communicated. So I would say from my side is the communication and the quality of the materials need to be matching and aligned with what your product is, whether it's a Mandarin Oriental or SLS or Virgin. It has to all click.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that.
You just wanted to say Virgin
I
again,
do.
didn't you? I know.
And have the last word. And there is also a panel after if you wish to know more about success factors. We're going to do that right after this. Right after this
Or the
break.
rental panel.
I think,
too, yeah.
I'll hand
feel
back
like
to Jeff,
commercial.
and thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Good job.